Dead calm this morning, but chilly and misty. Was more misty. The mist is starting to clear a little bit now, but well, you know, that's the way it goes. You can't do everything. If it's warmer, there's wind or whatever, or it's cold. Anyway, I got the wheels back on the Apprentice. I had the floats on the Apprentice for the float fly. The Apprentice doesn't perform super on the floats, really. He's, you know, they increase his weight and drag too much. He's a little underpowered with the floats on. And it's a pain, it's a monumental pain to switch him over between planes. I mean, you know, I'm maybe too slow and methodical, but it takes me the best part of an hour to switch him over properly between floats and wheels, because you have to take the propeller off and take the cowling off and then take the plate out that retains that take that wheel out, take the plate out, unhook the control rod, unhook it from the other end from the servo and move the control rod back, take the plate out, put the connection for the water rudder in, and then you've got to, you know, move the rod forward, connect it up again, then you have to readjust it because the adjustment won't be the same between the water rudder and the wheel, and it's a lot of mucking around, to say nothing, and even getting the back connecting in isn't 100% simple. For me to do it satisfactorily and be sure I've got everything adjusted, it takes me the best part of an hour. Anyway, now I've got the wheels back on the guy, and I don't know whether I'll be putting the floats back on him in a big hurry, really. We'll turn his power on. Okay, I believe he's initialized now. Now I've got the EFC 721 on his tail. It's a little awkward to do because the control rods run across both. You know, you've got control rods running across both tails, so you've got nowhere clear to put a camera easily. To make sure trying to make sure that tape isn't impeding the elevator rod at all. I don't think it is. No, it looks as if everything's working okay. So maybe we'll start the camera recording then, if we can do that. Yeah, there we go. The camera's recording now. Throttle cuts on, and we'll go and put him on the runway. Now, it is basically dead calm, so it really doesn't make much difference which way we point him. Seriously misty today. They've bailed up whatever this is on that field. I don't know what they're going to use it for, but anyway. I wouldn't think animals would eat it, so animal bedding and things, I'm assuming, probably. Who knows? I mean, I assume they're going to come pick it up at some point, because it's not doing much good sitting around in the field. Okay. This guy should run. He shouldn't have a problem running on the grass, I wouldn't think. He does not have flaps, of course. Doesn't really need a ton of up elevator, really, being a you know, it's a nose wheel plane. He's not a tail dragger, so you don't have to do. With a tail dragger, you want to put full up elevator on, at least initially, to keep the tail down on the ground. But this guy's a tricycle. He's a nose wheel plane, so he doesn't really need that. Whew. Get mixed up between one plane and another. Thinking of putting flaps up, but of course there aren't any flaps. Not on this guy. We seem to be getting rather high there. At least we're not having any trouble seeing him. Sometimes it's a bit hard to judge how high the mist goes. I've made misjudgments before on that. Actually, I've got... Whoops. It makes a difference too.
Time remaining 13 minutes. Experienced mode.
Got stabilization on. He has a lot more power. I mean, he's got, you know, he's got plenty of power for basic maneuvers and things without the floats. With the floats, you can just about do it, but you're pushing it. To maneuver him much with the floats on, you're pushing it. His flying weight, well, he's probably a little bit heavier now because I've got a 3300 battery in him, and I've got a camera on his tail. But his nominal flying weight with a 3200 battery is 48 ounces, and the floats at about another 9 or so, so he goes up to somewhere around 59 ounces with the floats on.
Time remaining 12 minutes.
Which makes quite a difference. And of course there's more, it's not just the weight, there's a lot of drag from the floats as well. So he's not a particularly maneuverable plane with the floats on. And you could take him off the water and things, that's fine. I mean, I'm not saying you can't fly him, you can take him off the water and fly him round, fine. But he doesn't have much extra power to do much with the floats on. Generally, I mean, I'd really rather fly him as a wheeled plane than a float plane. And the floats are fairly expensive as well. I think I'm Canadian. The floats cost me, I think, something like $80 Canadian for the floats. Now with the timber, the floats come with it. And the timber, it takes like, even for me, I'm slow doing stuff, but even for me, it takes me
11 minutes.
It takes me like 10 minutes to change the timber between float configuration and wheeled configuration. And but this guy, it takes me the best part of an hour because it's so much messing around. And the timber has dual water rudders that are operated by, they have a little arrangement with sort of fishing line and pins and whatever, which actually looks a bit gimracky, but it works rather well and it's simple to operate. And they're more positive for steering him in the water than the single water rudder on this is awkward, as I say, to set up, and it works better than nothing. It's definitely better than having no water rudder, but it doesn't work super well.
Time remaining 10 minutes.
I'm not going to fly him for another 10 minutes. I could easily, especially on this battery. This is a 3300. I had the timer set to 14 minutes, and that would be conservative probably for flying him, with the wheeled configuration with a 3300 battery. You could fly him, I would imagine, for definitely more than that 14 minutes. I used to fly him on a 3700 battery, 3700 milliamp hour. And I could fly him on that for nearly half an hour or so. Can't quite remember why I did, but I do remember I had him up, I think, for nearly half an hour on that.
Time remaining 9 minutes.
You can fly him on a 2200. He came, when I bought him, he came with a 3200, which I've still got, and it still works. It's not what's in him now, but I do still have it. There is a breath of wind from the west now, I think. Let's see what it feels like. You can fly, but you can fly him on a 2200. A 2200 or a 2200 with a decent C rating will supply enough power for him. And then, of course, he's even lighter on that. So, I don't know what you'd put as a time for a 2200. I would suspect you could probably fly him for 10 minutes or so anyway on a 2200. I've flown him on 2200s, but I don't remember exactly how much he used.
Time remaining 8 minutes.
Anyway, he's set up back in wheeled configuration, and he's fine. Whatever. I think we'll be lazy and put him back in
Beginner mode.
put him back in stabilized mode for landing. It's not necessary, but you know, I mean, it's also perfectly fine. Even a big plane like this, you know, he's not that easy to see when he gets over there in the mist. A well-behaved plane, of course. This is designed to be a trainer, so it's very well behaved. In almost every respect, it doesn't do anything nasty. Okay. Yeah. And it taxis very nicely as well with a tricycle undercarriage. I have to run it into ourselves, but
Throttle cut on.
there you go. Yeah, it taxis very nicely with the undercarriage. I see it's a bit damp. I see our tape is peeling a little bit, which is a little bit worrying. The covering. These tail, the empennage there is made of, it's thin foam covered with some sort of plastic material, and when I was flying him on the floats, the covering all came off. It peeled off. It started to peel off on the left-hand side there, so I stuck it back down there with cyanoacrylate. Hopefully it's holding. I guess we can turn his control power off now, and then we can turn off the transmitter. What did we? 7. So we flew him for about 7 minutes. It was showing 7, and we had it set to 14. So that was like a 7-minute flight, basically. And we'll stop this guy recording. There you go. Yeah, I'm just wondering how well that's holding up where I repaired it. Yeah, I could maybe do with it wouldn't hurt to maybe try and repair the leading edge a bit there, because it just peeled off. I don't know why. Okay, well there you go. He's back on his wheels. He flies fine. You know, everybody knows, I think, this plane, it's an excellent trainer, an excellent, first plane for people to learn, to fly a full-size four-channel plane, and very useful as a utility plane. I have a tendency, I often bring it out if I want to do something like some stable photography of the ground or whatever, because it's a nice, stable flying plane, and you can fly it in quite a lot of wind as well once you get used to it. So it's a plane you can bring out and fly on a windy day. Taxis well on the grass, but because you do get a lot of crap thrown up on the bottom when it's wet like this. 7-minute flight in like a 3300 with a 3300 11.8. Yeah, well, so with that, I mean, the 14 minutes is not unreasonable, and I should want to go much more than that, though. Anyway, there you go, E-flite Apprentice again.